The other adaptation, like I said earlier, was the handle. Now these are really simple to make. It's simply just a piece of old brake cable off a bicycle, and then these little bits here are the little brass components in a little electrical chock box. You know, the little white plastic things that you use for joining wires together? They have a small brass connector in them with 2 screws in it. Take those out of the plastic, bend your wire back, screw it together, tighten it up, and then I just literally ground the head off the screws just so that it's all nice and neat. But that bale wire means that the pan is much more stable on a hook or anything that I use to suspend it over a fire than the solid handle, which tended to slide one way or the other. So as you can see now, our stove is primed. The little jets are coming out the side there and we're ready to go. So pop our lid on and it's as simple as that. We just stick our pan on top of the stove. As you can see, the 100ml Zebra can fits our dog tin can perfectly. This is the large size dog tin can. Without mentioning brands, it's the jumbo type ones and they fit perfectly. The only disadvantage I would say with this system is it is quite high up, so you do have to have a nice stable base or you can have problems with your pan toppling. But that essentially is the system using the Meths stove. Right, now we've seen the Hobo Stove set up as a Meths stove, I'm now going to show you how it works as a solid fuel burner. We've removed the platform and the metal pin that held it up, so now essentially all we've got is an empty dog food container with a hole in the front. Now that is where we're going to feed the fuel in. The thing about this stove is you can actually set the levels of this stove. You can make it burn hotter or colder, and you could do that simply by turning the stove into the wind. If you want it to burn hotter, get the wind running through there and it will run hotter. But it does take a little bit of practice to get used to. So we're going to light this up and put the pan on there again, and I'm going to show you how it works as a solid fuel cooker. So as you can see, we've made up a couple of feather sticks to start with, just to get it going. It doesn't take an awful lot to get this going, but that does help. We're going to stack a few twigs in here as well. Essentially, to start with, what you want to do is make sure there's plenty of airflow going through. So don't overdo it, just enough to just get the thing going. Once it gets hot, once it gets going, it will quite happily burn for ages. You get quite a lot of updraft going through it, so it does burn fairly hot. So it's not hard to get things lit once they're going. So we'll give that a bit of a light. Get him off there, and let's see where we go from there. Right, as you can see, it's fairly straightforward to light it. We're going to start off just by feeding a fair bit in through the top, just to get things going essentially, just so that we get a nice bit of ember in the bottom. And then we can get everything a little more controlled. Okay, once the wood's burnt down past the top level of the stove, then you're ready to go. One thing you've got to be mindful of though with this stove is the surface that you put it on, because obviously the bottom gets very, very hot and will scorch the surface that it's on. But once it's at this level here now, it's just a simple job just to keep feeding the stove. Just take little bits of wood, just keep popping them in. Anything will do. Pine cones are particularly good. Essentially just keep it going. It's actually quite a relaxing process. While you're cooking, you're just gently popping things into the open part of the stove there, just to keep it stoked. And then it's just a matter of time. So there you have it.